Good evening, and you're welcome to another exclusive interview powered by News.Band Television. I am Augusta Nekam, and today we have as our guest Safia Bichi. She is the head Knowledge Management Department and the data manager for Yaga Africa. She is also an international electoral observer, and she's going to help us discuss the topic. Anambra 2021, is a credible, legitimate election possible? Now, before we go any further, in your opinion, Ms. Bichi, what makes an election credible? Ms. Bichi, do you hear me?
Sorry, can you come again, please?
I said, in your opinion, what makes an election credible?
Yeah, different things make election credible. First of all, is the first of all is the ability of the citizens' will to be um, to be determined or to be pronounced at the end of the elections. What I mean by this is that the vote announced by electoral management body reflects the will of the people or the vote cast as the ballot. That is the first and the biggest when it comes to credibility of elections. Before you look at other standard in terms of adherence to the guidelines and legal framework governing the election, as well as comparing the guidelines and the electoral framework governing the elections with international standards.
And so, considering the insecurity situation in Anambra State, do you believe that the factors are ready and preparations are in place to conduct a free and fair election?
Yeah, our legal framework has been tested before now. It's the same legal framework that was used to conduct in 2019 elections, as well as the 4 off-cycle governorship elections. We've seen another off-cycle elections or by-elections INEC has conducted. Even before now, the electoral framework that was used even 2011, way back 2011, 2015, were adjudged to be of standard, and we've improved it to this level, and there's always a room for improvement, looking at the gaps or the leakages in our electoral space. But like I mentioned earlier, the framework is of standard to conduct any election that can be adjudged credible.
Now, remember, Ms. Sophia has asked that we let her go after 30 minutes. So if you have a question or a comment on this topic, I would ask that you kindly ask them now or within the time frame, because she has asked us to let her go in 30 minutes. From the data released by INEC, Ms. Bichi, we have approximately 2.5 million registered voters. What percentage of this number need to participate in this election in order to make it acceptable?
If one person turns out to vote on election day, that vote will be counted, and that vote will be adjudged enough to determine the winner of the election. If all the approximately 2.5 million turn out to vote on election day, the votes will be counted, and the winner of the election will be announced. What are we saying? It doesn't matter. Electoral framework doesn't give a benchmark for the number of people that need to turn out before election is being counted. People that turn out to vote are the deciders of the elections in our democracy, as well as a few other democracies like that of the United States of America. The only thing is we encourage people to turn out and vote, because if you don't turn out to vote, you're allowing people to decide on behalf of you in the elections. And there's nothing you can possibly do, because the vote will still count, irrespective of your participation or not in the process.
Okay, you said you're currently in Anambra State, am I right?
Yes, I'm currently in Anambra State.
Now, looking at the situation in Anambra State and the reality, do you think a lot of people will turn out to vote come Saturday?
So turnout, anybody is peculiar when it comes to look voter turnout. I think in the 2017 elections. Hello?
We can hear you. Please go ahead.
Yes, in the 2017 elections, Anambra had a very low turnout of, I think, 23, but less than 25%. Even in the last 2019 elections, there's a turnout of about 21%. So Anambra is one of the states that has recorded the lowest or the least voter turnout. And we are encouraging voters to turn out and vote, irrespective of the turnout we had in the previous 8 years. But with what we're seeing, we're not sure that the turnout will be any different from what we've seen in the previous election. But again, as preachers of democracy, we keep encouraging them, the voters, to turn out and exercise their franchise, irrespective of the challenges on ground.
And how will you judge INEC's preparedness towards this election?
INEC, we've been observing the pre-election environment for 2 months now, or over 2 months now, and INEC has shown and demonstrated that they are ready for the elections. The INEC stakeholder meeting, INEC said it has done virtually over 70% of what it's expected to do as the election draws near. INEC has also told stakeholders, including the media, that they include introducing a new technology, which is the bimodal voter register, that's BVAS, bimodal voter registration, voter accreditation system that will enable them accredited voters on election day, which is an improvement of the card reader that we have seen or we are aware of in our electoral system. And through this introduction, we believe that this level of technology can enhance our electoral process and increase some level of credibility in the election. So INEC, based on what is on ground, we've also seen some good preparation activities happening in the state. INEC has conducted CVR in the state. INEC has conducted some level of voter education. INEC has trained ad hoc, recruited and trained ad hoc staff. And we'll continue to track the outstanding activities, including the distribution of sensitive materials that will commence tomorrow from the CBN in Oka.
Remember that you can join this conversation simply by raising up your digital hand. And I'll try to accommodate as much questions and comments as possible. Now, do you think that this election is going to witness the transmission of the electronic transmission of votes?
Yes, INEC has used electronic transmission of votes before now. INEC has used electronic transmission of votes before now, even before the 2019 elections. We know that the new Electoral Act is not yet to be passed to law, but based on the INEC guidelines, there will be transmission of some information, including the number of accredited registered voters through the BVAS, using the BVAS to a portal, to an INEC portal actually. But it will not take away the paper trail. That's just what we say. I would say, because the legal framework still recognizes the paper trail.
Okay, and in your opinion, has INEC and the political parties participating in this election done enough to sensitize voters?
INEC cannot do enough. INEC has done reasonably well with civil society organizations. Political parties, I can't say that. We know that political parties, in terms of our political culture in this country, political parties invest in canvassing for vote as against sensitizing people. In fact, some even engage in hate speeches against canvassing for the food that should be canvassing. Political parties, what we've seen is more of political campaign, political parties calling out people to come and vote to them en masse as against sensitizing them on the electoral process. And we've seen political parties like the APC, the APGA, and the PDP being amongst the parties that have been the forefront of these elections, of the campaigns in these elections.
It appears that's network. So if you can hear me, my question at this point would be.
Yes, I can hear you. I can hear you.
My question at this point would be, we reported this morning that only about 10 out of 18 governorship candidates signed a statement calling for a peaceful election and vowing to cooperate to make the election peaceful. First, do you think such statements indicate a good faith that they will actually do what they said? And secondly, what do you think about the fact that only 10 out of 18 candidates actually signed that statement of goodwill?
Sorry, I didn't get your question well. You asked why we haven't only how many candidates signing the peace accord or what? If you can come again very quickly. I'm so sorry.
No, what I said is this morning, about 10 out of 18 governorship candidates signed a statement, according to news reports, saying that they are committed to maintaining peace and non-violence throughout the
What
duration.
statement did they sign?
Hello, Mr. Fia, can you hear me? Miss Bichi, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now. I can hear you. I can hear you. So I heard the
Hello? Hello, Miss Bichi? Hello? Okay, I think her network is giving her some issues. We are still talking about Anambra 2021. Is it possible to have a credible and legitimate election? And we have been discussing with the head knowledge management department and data manager for Yaga Africa. She is also an international election observer, Ms. Sophia Bichi. I think her network is proving to be an obstacle to this conversation. Ms. Bichi, if you're here, kindly let me know.
Yes, I'm here. The last question I heard is around why do we have 10 people signing something as against 18 political parties. Just to mention and bring to forth, the peace accord signing will be tomorrow. I've not seen the news report, and I don't know which news report they're referring to that political parties signed. Whatever, but the peace accord is expected tomorrow, and we don't expect all the 18 political parties to turn out and to turn in for the signing of the peace accord. To be honest, not all the 18 parties have been actively participating even in the campaign. So if a political party that has not even campaign or canvass for vote, there are political parties that will not even deploy party agents to any polling unit. And if they don't turn out to sign the peace accord, you can't force them. Our main focus is the key players. That the ESK players should come out and sign the peace accord. And from the feedback we've gotten, we realize that they are ready to come out and sign the peace accord and renounce any form of violence like they did in the Edo 2020 as well as the Edo 2020 governorship elections.
Okay, you said that you've been in Anambra for some time now. What feelings are you getting? Are you getting the feeling that people will come out, when appreciable numbers to vote tomorrow? Are you getting the feelings that election observers, election monitors, and then INEC officials, both ad hoc and permanent, will actually come out on Saturday for everyone to do their part? What feelings are you getting on the ground?
INEC is on ground. INEC did the stakeholders engagement today, and they'll be doing it tomorrow. INEC has shared observer kits. Observer groups are collecting the observer kits. Observer groups have conducted some level of trainings in Anambra State. Observer groups like mine are coming from Abuja to deploy for the observation. And voters are collecting their PVCs and as well. So this tells you that plus or minus people are going to turn out to vote. INEC will still deploy to um, polling unit as well as observers will deploy to observe on election day. Talking about turning out en mass, I told you that Anambra has a history of low voter turnout, and what citizen observer groups and civil society organizations should be doing and have been doing is to build citizens' confidence and encourage them to turn out and vote. We've seen this low record in the 2019 election, as I mentioned earlier, as well as 2017 elections, even in the elections before the 2017, that's 2012 elections. So our message has been in the Anambra, come out and vote and decide for your future, for the future, your own future and the future of your children.
Okay, Ms. Bichi, your video is actually not well. It's upside down a bit. You can adjust that. Yes, thank you. Yes, thank you. Now, just before I let you go, because you have asked me to not keep you for more than 30 minutes, and I think it's about 30 minutes now. Do you think how important rather is the electoral process to the elections? I mean, what if there are some mannerisms that shows that the elections were not credible, but there is a result? How important is the process to the result?
The process is very, very important to the result, because if there's a flawed process, the result, of course, will be flawed. There's no result without process. The process determines the outcome. And that's why INEC is using and introducing technology to ensure, to guarantee a credible process. Like I mentioned, the use of the PVAs is an enhancement of the use of the card reader to ensure that the process is somewhat credible as well. So, like I mentioned, the process is very important to the result. You can't have a result without a process, and a credible process determines a credible outcome of the elections.
Now, if the elections should be filled, if it should be filled with irregularities, how is Yaga Africa planning to hold INEC accountable for the result it declares?
If the result is irregular, Yaga Africa is deploying what we call the PVT, the Prior Vote Tabulation, which enables Yaga Africa to tabulate the results from the polling unit. Once INEC announces a result that is inconsistent with the findings of Yaga Africa, that is, with the result tallied by Yaga Africa will come out, even on this platform, to call out on INEC and tell the citizens of Anambra and any other all the electoral stakeholders that the result announced by INEC does not reflect the vote cast from the polling unit. And if there are challenges or gaps with the process, Yaga Africa will come out and call. Again, you need to also understand that no matter how the process cannot be perfect, but there's always a consideration whether the process is substantial enough, the irregularities or the challenges the process has is substantial enough to affect the outcomes of the election. If there are minor processes that are not significant enough to impact on the outcome of the process, of course, Yaga Africa will go ahead and verify the findings of the outcome of the election. And if not so, Yaga Africa will go ahead to declare or call out INEC and any other stakeholders on whatever findings Yaga Africa finds on the election.
Okay, and how would you judge the factors that are big enough to warrant your calling out INEC and the ones that are small enough to ignore?
We're observing the processes, all the electoral process based on INEC guidelines. We have a checklist. We have a system that we use to track this system. So how do you know if it's enough? If Anambra State that has 5,700 active polling units, and maybe there are irregularities in 3 polling units, the question is it enough to affect the outcome of the elections? No. We will say it out to avoid future occurrences. but again, it's not significant enough to say this has affected the is significant to affect the final outcome of the election. But if, for instance, this is affecting less than 50% of the polling unit, or irregularities in 50%, 30% of the polling unit elections we're conducting, of course, there's a tendency the outcome of the elections will be affected or will be impacted. Yaga Africa will come out and say that to the public as well as to INEC. We've always shared our findings with INEC, with the public, with the media, and even political parties that are willing to even share and collect our data for litigations and whatever reasons they want. We are always open to sharing our findings and our data. We've done that in the past, and we will continue to do that. Just to mention that our allegiance as an organization is first to the citizens. We observe to provide near real-time information to the citizens, not to INEC, not to political parties, but to the citizens first.
Okay, just before I let you go, does Yaga Africa have any plans to checkmate vote buying, which may occur at polling units and polling booths rather?
Yeah, Yaga Africa is going to be tracking that as well. Yaga has been tracking its all form of vote inducement from the pre-election environment, and Yaga Africa will be tracking it even on election day.
Okay, and like I said, I'm going to let you go now. But any last words before I give the closing speech? Any last statements to India Anambra?
Yeah, in the Anambra, you need to come out and vote for election on election day come November 6th, so that you can decide for yourself, for your children, and for your family for the next 4 years. That's the message. Shun violence, participate non-violently.
Thank you so much. That is Miss Sophia Bichi. She is the head knowledge management department and data management manager for Yaga Africa. She's also an international election observer. And we have been discussing Anambra 2021 is a credible, legitimate election possible. Thank you so much for coming, ma'am.
Thanks for having me. Thank you so much.
Just before I let you go, I want to know, Mr. Ilumba, do you want to keep her for 5 minutes?
No, not really. I'm satisfied. I'm okay. I'm all right. Thank you very much.
All right, and
Thank
that's
you so
all we
much.
can take on today's exclusive interview powered by News.Band Television. Remember to follow us on YouTube, Facebook, where you can watch this video because it was live streamed and recorded. I am Augusta Neka. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me.